Welcome to Bahamarico. I am your host, Timmy. With my
And
co Brian. I gotta do the hands.
yes, I am Brian Fonseca. We are the Bahamarican Boys. Welcome to Bahamarico. We are back this week with a guest from the Five Reasons Sports Network. He is Mateo Mayorga. How do you prefer the pronunciation? Do you prefer with the English, or do you prefer like Mateo Mayorga?
It really doesn't make a difference. Whatever, I'm cool either way, man. How y'all doing?
Yeah, man, I'm happy. I'm always happy it's Sunday because I get to watch some basketball and don't do no work. I'm always good for Sundays.
I hear you, Brian. I got to give you credit. You're the first person in my life that's ever asked me that. So kudos.
Yeah, look, my Spanish is a work in progress, but the point is that it's progressing. As a New Yorican, we are known to not have great, Spanish just in general. So I am trying to debunk that. So hopefully, by the time I get to a certain point in my life, I will be fluent. I'm far away from that though. I'm working at it. You know what I'm saying? So just gotta I can't represent for my people and not, you know what I'm saying? Like I gotta be able to be sharp in all my areas,
Definitely was sharp. Pretty good.
Yeah, there we go. And I like the curls also. I like the curls. I could see like there's
Hey,
a little bit of a
Mateo came into the room like
there's a little bit, there's a rock influence there, you know what I'm saying? Like I could see that. Like I can drum up a playlist in my head of what you probably listen to based on your hairstyle.
No, you probably wouldn't be far off, man. I like to headbang and actually flip this hair every once in a while. So.
There you go. There you go. So Mateo is here. We are going to get into Tyler Herro today because we have not done so very much lately, Timmy, as we've had our heat conversations. And not that, not by any sort of reason or whatever the case may be, because we've been sort of broadening out, focusing on different members of the team and focusing on the team as a whole. But specifically, we're going to get into a lot of Tyler Herro stuff today because this motherfucker is balling right now. I heard Bill Simmons a while back, controversial person, I know, but I heard Bill Simmons a while back say there always seems to be somebody who, after the All-Star break is kind of pissed off and that he wasn't in the All-Star game and then goes on a tear the last portion of the season. It seems like to me that person's been Tyler Herro as of late. So this season right now, as of this recording, David, post the stats, please, because I put them in the rundown and they were something for sure. Pre and post All-Star break, especially because
while David is doing that, did you guys watch any ball on Friday? Like Friday was ridiculous. Friday you had Scotty Barnes having like 18 rebounds and 30 points. You had Tatum freaking out again. You had Mobley. I'm like, what is like? I don't know what was it about Friday. Maybe because they were jealous that March Madness started, but like the young guys were hooping like across the league on Friday.
Yeah, Scotty Barnes is about to win me a fantasy championship. Go ahead, Mateo.
While we're on the subject of Scotty Barnes, I thought it was really funny how a reporter asked him what did LeBron mean to him as a child or as a kid, and he said he was more of a Kobe guy. He did give LeBron.
Shit.
I love the sharp-witted humor or how it sounded, but. I think the league is in a great place with all this young talent going on.
Especially this draft.
With this upcoming draft, for sure, I think it's going to be probably a little deeper than what we were hearing throughout the year because I take March Madness as an opportunity to actually like learn more about these players because I do a lot with school and with the other network too, like during the season. So I may miss a little bit of what's going on with the collegiate game, but I'm seeing some ballers in March Madness. I don't know about y'all, but
yeah.
Sticking back with like some of the young players in the league, I'm so impressed that a dude like John Morant is in his third season. He's already like an MVP candidate. He's leading like the Memphis Grizzlies to the second seed in the West. This is also Tyler Herro's third season, and he's the leading scorer off the bench. You're seeing a lot of high-level production from the younger players, and I think that speaks to like what great place the league is in.
And like we were so afraid when we saw Tyler. I personally hate jump passes. Like he did a jump pass sideways, landed on his foot. Like, oh Lord, no, Tyler. But he, I've never said, but to have 21-year-old ankles again. Like he just popped back up, tied his shoes, and did like a crazy around the way layup, and it's like, okay, he's good.
So regarding his averages before the All-Star game, or rather, actually no, for the entire season so far, just so people understand, for the entire season so far to this point, there's like what, 10, 11 games left or something
About
like that.
11, yeah.
Yeah. 32.7 minutes per game, 21 points, about 5 rebounds, about 4 assists, 45, 39, 87 shooting splits for the season. So you're shooting 45%. And that's efficient basketball. But since the All-Star break, the same exact minutes, 32.7, 25.4 points per game, about 5 rebounds, about 4 assists, but 52% shooting from the field, 47% from 3, 85 from the foul line, but with more free throw attempts. He's about 5 free throw attempts per game since the All-Star break. And to me, that's something that I mentioned earlier, like weeks ago, where I was like, look, he needs to get to the foul line more if he's going to get to that next level of being a deadly scorer. And he's done that so far. I don't think 52% from the field and 47% for 3 is something you should count out all the time. But look, he's making that leap, right, guys?
Yeah, like I know, and we even said that earlier. The minutes are exactly the same. It's efficiency, and I don't know if it's we always say the game slows down. So I don't know if he's like in a matrix like stance right now. Like he's seeing the game differently because it's just the biggest difference really just efficiency. That's really all it is. Like he isn't like showing us this. I mean, the floater like Brady said a few weeks ago is something different. But it's not really like he's added anything new to this game. He's not playing more minutes. He's playing the exact same amount of minutes, doing the same thing, but it's more efficient. So it's like I think he's picking his spots more. He knows when to, and maybe it's because it's about at that point it was like 66 games already played or whatever. He had seen enough coverages for the season to know that if I see this, I do that. You do this. So I think he's just in that mode where whatever you put at me, I have a counter for it.
I think the added muscle he got in the offseason has helped his finishing ability when he's driving in the lane in traffic. And something I noticed in the last game against the Thunder is he didn't need as much help with the help of a screen from a teammate to get open. He was blowing past some defenders, and that shows to me a big improvement. His handle is tighter. He can, like you said, Brian, he's getting to the line a whole lot more, and that actually also helps the defense because you're stopping the clock, you're slowing things down, but on the next possession, the defense knows where the ball's coming from because everything's slowed down. You're not going to really get taken over the top on the break. So good points, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and we're going to get to him even more later on as a spoiler, but I think that the leap that he's making has been a lot about like just pace. I don't feel like he's trying to do too much all the time also. Like it's something that Timmy mentioned. I don't think he's trying to just wild out and go full speed ahead all the time. I feel like he's just more in control in general. There still are some of those passes that Timmy mentioned every now and then, like some of the alley-oop ones where like I'll hold my breath. I'm like, please, Bam, just don't get injured on this one. Like he's got a little bit of that Brett Favre quality in him, I suppose. But like he still is like he's a lot of fun to watch when he gets it going because he just looks super confident and super comfortable just getting to his spots. He knows where he wants to go. And I feel like all of a sudden the Devin Booker comparisons are not looking that crazy, right? Like
I never thought they were crazy in the first place, even with, I didn't think he had a bad season last year. He statistically improved, but I guess that's, the expectation that comes with balling out for 37 points in the conference finals game. And then when your team, not just one player, gets swept in the first round, but, this was the first time he had a real off season apart from the time he was drafted. And you've noticed some real improvement from him. So it's been a lot of things that have gone into place. Just like his role is a little different this year. The Heat are, they had some injury problems in like December and January, but Tyler's been relied upon to score. He didn't have to, be a playmaker early on. I know he showed that ability later on in the season, but he just had to focus. He just had to focus on one particular area, and that's scoring off the bench. And he's been the best at it in the entire league.
And fundamentally, it's like to me, it was not a big deal that he quote unquote struggled last season in the eyes of many. I think fundamentally it was just like, after the bubble, they had 7 weeks until training camp. And usually that's when a rookie can be like, all right, here's what I experienced in year 1. Now I can add to my game. He didn't have time to really add much because he was too busy playing in the playoffs the whole time. They went deep and he wasn't able to he didn't really have an off season is the point basically. This year he has one. they have a long gap because they got washed in round one before round one was over for most other teams. I think they were the first team eliminated. So they had a huge break. He was able to really put in work and really add to it. And you're seeing the benefits of that. I don't think it's that complicated to sort of look at. And then the whole 6-man thing, like to me, I like the idea of him coming off the bench because as a 6-man, it's like, all right, the offense is going to shift to him because after Jimmy gets out, Bam gets out, like he's being able to come in, get that started or whatever, kind of like Manu Ginobili was back in the day. And for me, whether or not he starts is not a big deal. It's like, yo, if you could be Manu Ginobili, that's a great thing, right? But I do think that we could see maybe next season he's going to start. But I think even before that, I think Spo may experiment and like we just see them game one of the playoffs, they roll out, and all of a sudden it's Tyler Herro and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker, and that's the lineup. I could see that, and I wouldn't be shocked.
And it's crazy how he is now. He's averaging more points than Manu, Terry, Crawford, or Lou Williams have ever averaged, ever of the men, ever. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and probably not as many. Like I would be curious to see what the minutes would be, but like guys just play less minutes now than they typically did. Go ahead, Mateo.
That's true, but I someone put up the stat on Twitter when people were trying to give Kevin Love more like of a chance to win this award, and most 6-men of the year usually average around as many minutes as Tyler has right now, but his 6-man role, I'm not sure if it'll change next year. I think it depends on how much of a bag he gets. If he gets what he's looking for, I think he'll be happy continuing his role. But speaking of the 6-man, it's not something I think every player in the NBA could thrive in because, he could probably be a star or a bigger star somewhere else. And, it could maybe affect his finances, excuse me, make him more and more money, excuse me.
Right.
But, and some other players would get uncomfortable in the role he's playing because they don't get as much shine. But, I think it speaks about him being a leader, just taking the opportunities available to you. You get in where you fit in. So I always love the kid's attitude, excuse me, the man's attitude. I hate, that's just a force of habit. I say that by accident, but he's just a serious baller, man.
Yeah, I mean, and now I want to get into like the scoring thing because like Timmy, you mentioned this earlier. He's very, very close to leading the Heat in scoring, which is something that Ethan brought up at the beginning of the season that I think people got on his ass for a little bit. And I think that Ethan noted that people were deleting tweets, but Tyler Herro is on the verge of leading this team in scoring. And, with Jimmy Butler has that lead right now. Bam is not going to all of a sudden average 40 down the stretch and overtake either of them. So it's going to be a Tyler Jimmy race. But like, guys, I'm going to ask Mateo, let's start with you. Like, does it matter if Tyler Herro is the Heat's leading scorer? I feel, to me, it's like, I wouldn't care if I'm invested in the team winning, if I'm in the organization, etc. Who gives a shit who leads the team in scoring as long as they're winning games is how I would look at it. But Mateo, what do you think?
I agree with you. I don't think it matters. I think if it ends up happening, people from ESPN will use it as a negative talking point. You see, the leading scorer is a player off the bench. They don't have like a true star.
Right.
But, I think that'll just be like media hype or whatever. But it makes no difference to me, man. He's a bucket getter. He may not start, but he can close anytime.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like I've never particularly cared about who starts more than who closes a game. Like I don't really get caught up in who starts like that. But in terms of closing, yeah, if he's closing games all the time, then who's losing necessarily. And I think if he leads the team in scoring, that's fine. Now, in terms of like what his ceiling is, I don't know. Like we're still seeing it's rare that 21,
22,
22 now.
Yeah, and he's doing this. It's like, that is rare in itself, right? And David just put up some numbers here that we can read. Jason Terry's minutes per game were 30. Manu's was 25.
That is insane.
Jamal Crawford, 29.5.
Before you even say anything else, Manu played how much?
25.4 minutes per game. There was a stretch like toward the end where he wasn't playing that much at all. He was still giving you like 15, 4, and 4. Because he looked cooked after the 13 finals. Or the 12 finals rather, or no, the 13 finals, and then ended up going back to being like a pretty good version of Manu for like a season and then retired. But Timmy, what do you think about just does it matter that Tyler Herro leads a team in scoring or Jimmy Butler leads a team in scoring? Like, does it, if they're winning, does it matter at all?
No, it doesn't matter. But of course, like I told you in WhatsApp, it helps his agent. He led the team in scoring. He came off the bench. Like it helps there, and with the narrative, and like Mateo likes to talk about, we have so many stars in smaller markets who have great stories who no one knows about. So it would help Tyler Herro in the stardom department next year if you can post 6 pounds a year, most points off the bench, highest average ever, lead the team, like those type of stuff. Those type of stuff with matters. But no, right now, once you're winning, no. But if Herro and Bam are your 2 leading scorers and Jimmy's the 3rd man and you're winning, that's a crazy recipe for success going forward. Because if Herro and Bam are being the man now, and Jimmy's more of a facilitate, shut down, man, and I think this stretch post All-Star break, we are seeing what the future looks like when you have Lowry and Jimmy making 70 million combined, being the 3rd and 4th man. So I mean, these guys are rich, so I don't want to watch Mickey's pockets, but it's going to be pretty expensive to have Herro and Bam and Jimmy and Kyle all on max. But like winning solves all, like if the Heat are going to maybe win like maybe 55 games, 54 games, and it doesn't matter.
I think they're on pace to do that right now. My prediction was 51 at the beginning of the year, and I thought I was being a little too optimistic about them when I took a look at like ESPN's projections and Caesars Sportsbooks and 538. But the Miami Heat have surpassed, most people's expectations. If somebody had them first in the East, I'd like to know who they are. But I think one of the biggest reasons was the depth. And in January and December, Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler missed 14 games where they were both out, and the Heat went 10-4. And a lot of that's because of their depth. Tyler Herro stepped up, not just him, but Gabe Vincent, Omer Yurtseven, Caleb Martin, Max Strus. This was a really deep team. And the best part about it is everybody knows their role and has kind of shined in it at different moments of the year. So I think this is a team that's going to go deep in the playoffs, man, because of these players.
I think the playoff thing is the key because that's where Tyler Herro is going to earn his money. Or not, right? Like if he has a bad playoff run, which I don't anticipate, but like that's the key for me. Like in terms of max contract and what do you do in the offseason? Do you keep him long term? I think all those questions get answered in the playoffs because that's where they're supposed to be answered at the end of the day, right? If they go into the conference finals and they lose a 7-game series and he's one of their top 2 leading scorers and he's reasonably efficient, especially, in the playoffs, which it's hard to do. Being efficient in the playoffs is very hard. James Harden is never efficient in the playoffs, for example, as somebody who allegedly is a top 5 player in the eyes of many, not me. And like, that's just sort of how it goes. Like if Tyler Herro can have a very good playoff stretch, then he's going to get something close to a max contract or a max contract. I think that's what it's going to be. But if he doesn't, then, they're going to have an interesting negotiation period. I think, unfortunately, Duncan Robinson gets squeezed in all this, but I think we all knew that was going to happen when he signed that contract anyway. Because that's a lot to have for Duncan Robinson's skill set and just also like the way the NBA is, you trade contracts, not necessarily players all the time. And if you're going to maneuver around and create room for Tyler Herro, you would figure that, as Timmy mentioned, having Lowry and Jimmy and Bam and Tyler Herro's contracts, like you're going to have to get creative beyond that, right? So I think that they're going to figure that out as it pertains to that. But and last thing, I guess, on Herro, like what do you guys both expect in terms of like, playoff production? Like what are your expectations, maybe your hopes that you would see from Tyler Herro just down the stretch here in the playoffs in particular?
I think what he's doing now is going to continue. I don't see what he's doing stopping. I think I'm very confident that he making it to at least the finals because of what we see from Herro and Bam. Sadly, I think what will be the difference maker is not a top 4. I think it'll be backup center. What does Dedmon or Morris give you? Maybe Duncan. Does Duncan freeze up again? If Depot can't go? Because Gabe is like 3 for like 50 for the last 3 games. So I think our top 4, in my opinion, Herro, Lowry, Jimmy, and Bam. I think they will do what they do. I think it's the other 3 or 4 that decides that season. But in terms of Herro, I think he's going to do this and wake up the league.
I could expect him putting up the same scoring numbers. The efficiency it's possible that it could drop a little bit because you're seeing the same opponent more frequently and you have more time to like hit the film room and learn their tendencies. So well, I am expecting the Heat also to have, a full squad available and have Victor Oladipo, integrated better into the lineup. So the only thing I would say is a difference is in the field goal percentage, but I think he's still going to be blowing past defenders. I think he's still going to be getting a lot of help from his teammates. I think Timmy made a great point with what you do in case Robinson ain't performing well, but I think the Heat are going to have a very successful showing in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I think you're probably bummed out if they don't at least get to the conference finals and make it a series, right? I think even so, a lot of people would probably still say finals or bust. Which that can be debated or whatever. I would just say counter to that, the East is really good, Mateo.
Absolutely. I don't think there's a shame in losing to the team with the best player in the world. I think that's Giannis for the record. They are the defending champs and they are getting a guy like Brook Lopez back. And in the series last year in the first round, when I know the Heat are a little different now, they got crushed on the glass. And one of the important things that the Milwaukee Bucks were able to do is operate a lineup with 2 7-footers at the same time. There's not very many teams in the league that have that much versatility, especially when one of them can space the floor and also be a shot blocker on the other end. And there's Giannis who goes crazy. But they, to me, are the biggest challenge the Miami Heat would have if they were to see him in the postseason.
Shit, 3. Because if they won, they could run out a lineup. Like, if it were me, I'd consider closing some games with like Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Bobby Portis, and Brook Lopez. I would consider that.
But I think the Heat like when Portis is on the floor though. They like maybe it'll be Ibaka and not Portis.
It certainly does help the Heat that PJ Tucker is now a member of the Heatles, and he was a member of Milwaukee last year. I thought like as the postseason went on in 2021, as Brook Lopez's minutes were cut after the Eastern Conference Finals, having PJ Tucker at the 4 allowed Giannis to play small at the 5 and give him a little bit more speed on the defensive end. PJ Tucker does all the little things. He's so much more than the 9 points a game. Last time I checked, and the incredibly high field goal percentage from 3-point range. He does all the little things right. I never saw in his career before this season him be so effective as a roller and floating it up when he saw a defender in his face. He's going to be someone that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to miss in the postseason.
Yeah, he just needs to take a break. You know what I mean? Just take
Did you see what Spo said? Like every time he suggests a break, like Tucker just laughs in his face, like go away, babe. I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, he's old school. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't fucking taking no DNP CD. The fuck you think you talking to? Like, you know what I mean? Like he's got the mentality of a dude who was in the league, who then was out the league for several years, who got back in and can't go back. You know what I'm saying? Like, just can't go back. Not that would happen, but like, I think he's somebody who is going to be instrumental to the postseason, especially when you're talking about like a closing lineup of Lowry, Herro, Jimmy, PJ, Bam. PJ's the guy they're all doing the little things because that's what makes his team so good. PJ's the guy really doing the little things. Like he's going to get on the floor. He's going to do all those sort of things that you don't necessarily see in box scores and in advanced metrics. But yeah, look, I'm expecting a big playoff run from them in general if they're healthy, because that's the key. Last season, knock on wood, we saw a ton of injuries. I think, having a season right after the bubble ends can do that, wear and tear. So now this season is going to be interesting as it relates to that. So before we get out of here, formerly this or that, now we're going to call it for now the Bahamarican Gauntlet, which is where we put people through just various questions or whatever, or mainly me, because I am a pain freak, as Royal says. We like to torture our guests. Last week I just did it to Timmy because we didn't even have a guest. And it was centered around Top Boy, the series, which is on Netflix right now, which just came out. Timmy is already powered through, I think, all of it. I'm just 2 episodes in, so we can't really do an episode on it at some point. At some point soon, I got to get around to it. But all this March Madness is sort of really messing up with my schedule. But we'll get to it at some point. But now we are going to throw some questions. Timmy, you said you had a couple. I'm going to
I'm
throw.
so
I'm
I'll
going to
start
throw
my
one
own.
out
I start my own
after.
first.
Yeah.
Rock or jazz?
Ooh, rock and roll. You know, but here's the thing. I gotta.
You didn't even
preface-
hesitate. You didn't even hesitate.
I gotta preface. You know, rock and roll comes from 4 genres. It comes from jazz, country, blues, and gospel. So I got a lot of respect for jazz too. Don't get me wrong, but rock and roll.
There is if you like jazz, anybody in general. We were just talking about Winning Time before we started, which is the HBO series on the Lakers, and there's a very good scene involving some jazz, involving Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Timmy knows what I'm talking about. But let's just say, like, for all the jazz heads out there, it's a great scene. It's also not great if you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to see yourself depicted like that. But apparently, that's how he was. And apparently justifiably so. But Timmy, you have one more?
No, I just want to bring up the reason why I brought it up because Mateo was probably the only person ever in life who said he wants to actually go to Cleveland, but he said it's because of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, yeah. It's just for the confused audience. The reason I said I wanted to go to Cleveland is in case the Heat see the Cavaliers in the first round. It would mostly be to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm a huge lover of rock music, and it would be cool to see the respect paid to some of my favorite artists.
Which can happen, by the way. Like that's the first one scenario.
Yeah, that dropping is. I mean, Mobley like kind of. I think they beat someone in overtime last night, but I don't know. The Bulls and Cavs are both like.
Yeah.
The Bulls just got Patrick Williams back. We'll see if that affects anything. Mateo, you're on an island for 2 weeks. What's the one album, the only album you can take with you? If you're limited to just one album, what is that album that you're going to take with you on the island? Greg Sylvander had a good answer to this, although I don't remember what it was. And I don't remember what Ethan was either, if he was even still on the show.
I have to go find it.
But yeah.
I'm trying to think of the album vinyls I have hanging on my wall in my living room.
Oh, you're a vinyl guy? I could see that.
Yeah. I love to put them on my records, and it's cool to decorate the wall that way. But for right now, I'm gonna pick "Sticky Fingers" by the Rolling Stones. That was one of the albums where Mick Taylor really shows out. He's probably the best Mick the Rolling Stones ever had, not Jagger, but because he was such a gunslinger as a guitar player. He replaced the founding member of the group, Brian Jones, after Keith Richards and Mick Jagger kicked him out because he was abusive towards his ex-girlfriend, or his girlfriend at the time, and he was kind of forgetting some of his duties to the band. So they replaced him with Mick Taylor, and they made this album called Sticky Fingers. It's amazing. I recommend it to everybody.
Rock and roll Mount Rushmore. There you go. 4 groups.
4 groups? Oh,
yes.
Man.
Because Mount Rushmore is 4 heads. So you have 4. Yours is?
I gotta include a gateway band, like the band that got me immersed into it. So definitely Pink Floyd. I love the Stones. I love the Allman Brothers Band. They're from or more around Florida. They're from Jacksonville. And another one. I'm a huge fan of Jim Morrison, so The Doors.
There we go. Yeah. There was a wrestler, for people who watch wrestling, people who watch the show probably know I do. John Morrison was basically a Jim Morrison inspired wrestler for many years. Yeah. It's like the music, the entrance, the whole shit, is very inspired by Jim Morrison. You could just tell. Timmy, do you listen to any of this shit down in the Bahamas? Do you?
When explain, I can listen to it and I can't tell you who's playing, but I like rock, but I never deep dive. So when I go to casinos and stuff, they're playing, that's the
arenas
vibe.
And shit.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I like what I hear. So eventually I'm gonna dive deeper.
This one's for both of you. Rank these shooting guards based on where you think they'll be in 3 years. There's a lot here, so keep this in mind. There's 7. Tyler Herro, because we talked about him. Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Anthony Edwards.
I think I'm gonna go with James.
What's the time? What's the time frame?
3 years from now. So this
Harden's
is
last. Harden's
20
last. Harden's last.
This is the 2025 season, 2025, 2026. Heading into that season, where do you expect these 7 to rank? In what order?
Damn, Harden is for sure last.
For people watching again, and I'm going to filibuster so you guys get more time here. And Timmy, thank you for writing into the chat. Tyler Herro, Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Anthony Edwards, James Harden.
I'll let our guest go last so you can think. So for me, Harden last. The Heat fans will probably set me afire, but I'll probably say Beal 6.
Oh,
I know how much Heat fans love Beal eventually. But Beal is just
is in there too.
Ooh. Right. So for right now, it's 7 Harden, Beal 6. Woo!
I'm ready to do mine.
Okay, go ahead.
I got Anthony Edwards at 1. I got Booker at 2. I got the Spider at 3. Beal at 4. Brown at 5. Herro at 6, and the Beard at 7. But listen, I think the shooting guard class is much deeper than I was picturing in my head. Now that you put this list there,
I was going through it, and then I was like, as I was making the list, I was like, oh shit, wait, I should put Anthony Edwards here. Oh wait, I forgot about Jaylen Brown. You know what I mean? Like, and Jaylen Brown, like, Boston fans have their issues with him or whatever the case may be, and
I don't even know why. I love Jaylen Brown's game.
I think he's a great player. I love how brilliant he is off the court. But
he's a brand. Yeah, man. I fuck with that. So Harden last, then Beal, then sorry guys, I have Herro, then I have Brown, Booker, Spider, and I have Ant first as well. I think Ant is going to be incredible, to be quite honest.
I love how he's such a explosive athlete, but he has like a football player's body.
He's insane. Like,
yes.
And he has the personality to be a star. Like, for people who don't watch Wolves games and listen to their presses, he's hilarious. He's braggadocious. He's confident. He has charisma. Like, I love Anthony Edwards. I love that dude.
I think Timmy and I have a similar ranking. I think I might have a similar ranking to both of you, actually. Let me see, because Harden's also last for me. But like, Timmy, I'm not even gonna. Harden's my favorite player in the league, right? No, I can't stand him. Like, I just can't. Yeah, I can't stand watching him. Just like, it's just. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into it.
I was like in love with his game in between like 2017 to like 19, but the ISO stuff got boring. I thought him and CP should have ended their relationship a little better, and it was kind of his fault.
I'm hoping that Luka Doncic doesn't fall under the same spell, so to speak. But look, he's been deferring to Spencer Dinwiddie, who's back to hitting game winners.
Hey, it's crazy how the 2 biggest trades involving Porzingis end up being like the Porzingis trade is now the Timmy Hardaway trade.
Yes.
And now this trade for Porzingis will end up being the Spencer Dinwiddie trade. It's crazy.
It's like you trade Porzingis to just clear your team's sort of head and space. Although Porzingis he's had a few good games with Washington, so we'll see how that goes.
He ruined LeBron's night last night. Like I turned that game off thinking that the Lakers would win, and then I saw on Twitter that Porzingis had his own like run and ended the game himself.
So Harden's last for me. That's in terms of, we're talking about 2025. By then he'll be 35, 6, something like that.
Yeah, 35. Going on 36, yeah.
He's last for me.
A little heavier, a little slower, still making a load of money, but
we assume he won't be retired, but so he'll be last on the list.
Oh, he signed like a 4-year max. He's not gonna retire. He's not gonna retire.
Like, he's a great player. It's just, this is an old principle of mine. I don't think your team can win if one of your best players doesn't, commit to the defensive end. Like, I know he's very good, when he gets posted up because he's strong. He's also got a lot of.
But how often is that also? Right.
Actually, that's a great point. It's not
like
very
once a game, maybe.
Right. Like, it's
usually isolated out on the perimeter, and he's blown by, and he gives up after he reaches. So if you don't really commit to that side, I don't think you're winning anything.
Nah, and I give Luka Doncic props because he's been defending lately. Jason Kidd got them defending. Like his hire was controversial and for good reason, but Dallas is defending. So Harden's 7th to me. 6, you guys put Bradley Beal here. No,
I put Herro at 6.
I put Beal 6. Yeah,
I think by then, yeah, I'll put Beal 6, Herro 5th, Jaylen Brown 4. Although you can flip flop those two, like right. There's a world.
He'll only be like 25 years old. It's like, oh, he still has like another section of his career after that.
Who is?
No, Herro, because like in
Yeah.
3 years from now, he'll be like, I know I have 6 on this list, but he'll only be like 25.
I think Jaylen Brown versus Tyler Herro in 3 years from now. That's an interesting one, though. I think Brown has a better defensive ceiling, so I'm gonna give that to him, right? So we'll leave Herro 5th, Brown 4, and then the top 3 is interesting. Ant could be 1, Booker could be 1, Spider could. I think there's a case for any one of them to be number 1.
and I think why I gave Ant just because he's still so young.
Yeah, but I also think Donovan Mitchell's not going to be in Utah by then. So that's the ultimate wild card. I think the other 2 guys will probably still be on their teams. I'm going to go Booker 3, Spider 2, and Anthony Edwards 1, just because, as you guys said, he's so young. Not what I would have said a while back.
Do you know how old he is, Brian?
I'm sorry?
Anthony Edwards?
Yes.
He's like 20.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
He's 20.
Yeah.
He can't drink yet.
Yeah.
Legally.
All right. Next one, because we only have a couple more. This is a very similar one. Not as many names, but a lot of the same people. Rank these shooting guards based on where you think they'll be after this postseason. So we're talking about now. 5 guys. 5 of them are here. 2 of them are not. So it's basically all these guys except a couple. James Harden, Tyler Herro, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. Anthony Edwards is not here because we don't expect a long playoff run from the Minnesota Timberwolves quite yet. And Bradley Beal's not even going to be in the playoffs. So in terms of 5 guys who are expecting their teams to make a deep playoff run, Tyler Herro, Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, James Harden. Or we can frame this as this. Let's reframe this. Not where do you think they'll rank at the end of the postseason, but in terms of how good do you think they'll be this postseason? We could frame it like that with those 5 guys.
Well, the reason why I like Mitchell is because he comes alive in the playoffs. And Harden shrinks in the playoffs, so Harden's last for sure. And the rest, I must say, Brian, this is a freaking hard question because
here's the thing: you said Donovan Mitchell comes up big in the playoffs, and he does. They could also lose in the first round because that
right. So it's different. Do we want to say how far they'll go and play well, or just play well? Because it's very tough. I think all these guys will play well.
Up like 45 a game in the first round loss,
Yeah,
no,
but
however you want to do it.
Okay,
however you want to do it.
The shooting guard who will play, my framing is they play well and they go far in the playoffs.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
So Harden, I don't see Philly making the finals. So Harden last. As Spider will probably average like 40 points, like Mateo said, but he won't make it far. So that's
as of now, they would play Dallas as the 4-5 series in game.
Oh yeah, they're not going to be.
And they'd be 4, but they're only a game and a half ahead.
So I think it's going from the bottom. Harden, Spider. Why it's hard for me is because I'm seeing a Heat Suns finals.
Okay.
I'm seeing Heat Suns, so I'll just.
And Tyler Herro would have to be a big part of that. So
right, so I'll put Brown 3rd, even though I could see the Celtics really squeezing the life of the 2 teams in the playoffs. So Harden, Spider, Jaylen. I gotta put Booker because he's the number 1 option in this team. So Herro 2nd and Booker 1st.
That is so interesting.
For me, I am going to go with Booker 1st, the Spider 3rd, Herro 3rd. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Spider is 2nd. Herro 3rd. I'm gonna go with Jaylen Brown 4th and Harden 5th.
Yeah,
that's kind of sounds a little drastic when it rolls off my tongue, but I don't really believe in the Philadelphia sauce. I don't think they have enough outside shooting, and I think it's gonna get old when he plays a little bit too much ISO and they start loading up on him. He gets a little frustrated.
Yeah.
They might get the Nets in the first round.
Are you talking about Philadelphia?
Like
Yes.
that's Philadelphia might they could get the Nets in the first round if they stay second. Like
Yeah,
that's
if they say
entirely
second
possible.
and the next get 7.
But I don't think they're going to stay second. I think Milwaukee's going to get that. And the Heat are 3 games ahead of both. And we're expecting the Heat to finish first, which the Heat, I think, would play the Raptors or the Cavs because you would anticipate that the Nets would actually win their play-in game.
People keep trying to dream the scenario of KD knocking out the Heat and making our season so miserable. But if you believe in KD that much, you must think that he won't lose a 1-game series to the Cavs or the Raptors. So it has to be the same.
They'd be on the road also, and they
Yeah.
would, if it's in Cleveland, which it could happen, they would have Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, so I don't like the narrative. Don't say that the round is so good that they'll beat the Heat in the first round, but there's no way he gets the Heat unless he loses to the Raptors or the Cavs. So I have no fear. I mean, even if it happens, it happens. But I have no fear of the Heat playing the Nets first round.
So going to my ranking, I would put Harden 5th in terms of playoffs because you just be 5th in the playoffs. That's what happens. I'm gonna put Jaylen Brown 4. I'm gonna put Herro 3 because I think Herro is going to Timmy's point. I think he's going to play longer than Jaylen Brown does in the playoffs. Though I do think the Celtics are legitimately dangerous. And there's a world where the Heat can get them in round 2. Though the Celtics are right behind the 76ers. And
yeah, like the Celtics could go on a 45-win streak.
Yeah, like the way this can shake out, I could see the Heat being first, and then Milwaukee, Boston, and then Philly, depending on how far Philly drops, because everything is mad close once you get past Miami. Well, am I left with 2 and 1? 2. I think Mitchell. I think they can really lose that Dallas series, but I think he can be so good in that series.
You think Dallas has enough outside shooting?
I think
done well, and the Dinwiddie.
The way they're defending though, Mateo, like I also can see a world where Donovan Mitchell is averaging 35, but he's not shooting higher than like 42% because it's like they can really lock on to him because it's like, yo, I would dare Jordan Clarkson to beat me, right? Like I would just dare it to happen because I'll live with Donovan Mitchell getting his 50 or whatever the case may be. If we're still winning, if I'm Dallas. So it's interesting. Mitchell, I could see him being 3-2. It feel weird saying, putting him below Tyler Herro. So I'm just going to leave him at 2 for now. And Devin Booker, I think, could be finals MVP this year for all intents and purposes, right? Like, I think he's somebody who it's going to be him or Chris Paul if the Suns end up making it all the way. And I'm somebody who was like not a Devin Booker believer pre-Chris Paul. And now it's like, I don't want to give Chris Paul all the credit because that would be unfair because I've always thought Devin Booker is very talented. I'm like, yo, does he care about winning at all? And as you can see, he does. Took a while, but he does. So there's that.
That's solid, man. I thought you made some really good points. And the one thing I really like about Phoenix is the main thing is Devin Booker, man. He can get his shot at any time.
At any point.
They won 8 games in the bubble before Chris Paul got there. Him and Giannis and the rest of the Suns balling out. I know Chris Paul is a huge reason why they've changed like a lot of their culture, but so is James Jones and some of the people who were there beforehand. But they're a loaded squad, and Devin Booker is, I think one of the most underrated players still in the league because I don't think he made an All-NBA team last year. He was an All-Star, but he didn't make one of those teams, and I thought that was Fugazi.
And sadly, I don't think he's gonna make it this year either.
That's a crime. I actually think he's the best shooting guard right now. Seriously.
In the NBA?
Yeah. He's the one I'd pick first.
I can't knock you.
If this is the list, you have a case, right? Yeah. Like if these are the top 7, who would we be missing? Right? Like
only Clay, but Clay just coming back from injury, so
it's not really fair to the injured players who haven't participated but
even when they have Clay, I might still put Booker as number 1 for real.
He can put the ball on the floor a little better than Clay. He don't defend as well as Thompson.
Yeah. That's true.
He'll get to the line more.
And also, is Steph really a point guard? Because he might be a shooting guard. And if he's a shooting guard, then this makes the conversation different. But whatever, Timmy, take us home because we've done a lot here and we've had a lot of fun. But Timmy,
so this has been this started as a Tyler Herro episode, but it ended up being a shooting guard appreciation episode, and it's just crazy how good.
Except for James Harden.
It's crazy how stocked that position is going forward, especially with this crop of plays coming up. But thank you, Mateo, for coming through. I gotta get on some more rock and roll, and this has been Bahamarico.
We'll be back next week with we don't know who yet, but we'll figure it out. Take care.